So we see Dr. Vegapunk was actually smiling while he was dying, which was very interesting. Sanji actually commented on it, and then of course had a recording set up telling the world the truth. But what is the truth that Vegapunk speaks? We then later see Luffy, of course, with Kizaru and Saturn in both his hands, which was badass, is curious to what this message Vegapunk's about to say. And even Saturn, while Luffy's grasping his face, is wondering what, of course, Vegapunk's up to. And I do want to say this, don't forget the reason they're killing him. It's the same reason they killed Professor Clover, the Void Sentry. We know that we've been waiting for the Void Sentry for so long. And of course, we'll find out the Willie D, Joy Boy, and of course the One Piece treasure, and how the world government actually, why they're hiding it, and what crazy things happened during the ancient kingdom. Now of course this caused the Gorosei to pinpoint where the message is coming from, and of course as Saturn is letting them know, Vegapunk was killed by Kizaru, so it must be a dead man switch is what the Gorosei think. Then the Gorosei said there's no time and they can't let Vegapunk speak, and Saturn summons them to Egghead Island. Now, it just made me think, yo, what if the Gorosei would be able to be summoned to Laugh Tale, where the One Piece treasure is? Yo, this opened up a huge amount of doors. So imagine after Dragon hears this message that's been hyped up in the last couple of chapters in One Piece, what's he gonna do with of course the Hand of Liberation and Kuma, his close ally, and the Warrior of Liberation and Luffy, his son, like having ties to both these characters in Egghead Island. And I'll tell you guys right now, I remember 1,000 chapters ago, he saved Luffy from execution with that lightning. Of course, it hasn't been confirmed, but I'm assuming. And of course, saving Luffy from Smoker, so Luffy can actually go on his journey. And he was saying a pirate, that's fine too. And I do want to say this, with Dory and Broggy wanting to take the Straw Hat Pirates to Elbaf Island, of course, Dragon is the perfect distraction for the Gorosei, and they do have beef, as Dragon is the most wanted man by the world government, and the Gorosei at the top of the world government. And I think it would be very awesome if he's able to fight all of them at once, because we all thought that Luffy was going to fight them all at once, but now we're seeing that they're actually splitting up. If Dragon's able to fight them all at once, how strong will we view the world's wanted man? But this all ties to this connection to Vegapunk. People are sleeping on Dragon Vegapunk, especially with the latest anime episode, guys. It's gonna get crazy. And I remember the beginning of One Piece, like this is way like after Enies Lobby, Kobe is gassing up Vegapunk super early by saying the explanation of Delver's transmissions, condition, and ability, as well as the new tech to feed Delver ability to, of course, inanimate objects, all are from Vegapunk's recent work. Just saying that Vegapunk is that guy. And then we even see when it comes to Kuma explaining, Vegapunk says the scientific ability is 500 years ahead of our time. This is said by Kuma, and Kuma had a really close relationship with Vegapunk. And we also know Vegapunk, his death was because of the 1,000 years in the past, the Void Century, which he said is the ancient kingdom was highly technological, just like, of course, Egghead Island. And then you think about Kuma sending Frankie, of course, to Vegapunk's home island. Vegapunk's home island, which Frankie learned so much. Look at Frankie's improvements since the time skip, this 1,000 Sunny. Yeah, that was all thanks to Kuma sending Frankie to Vegapunk's home island. So Vegapunk pre-time skip was even a prominent character in the One Piece story. And I always thought it was interesting how Punk Hazard, a lot of people feel like Punk Hazard was the start of the Kaido saga, but I think it also could be a double layered hint foreshadowing to another man related to the dragon. We see, of course, Vegapunk has this huge dragon that he created in Punk Hazard. Of course, that Zoro was cut in half. And then later on we see this small version of this dragon that's more agile and also was a very prominent character in Punk Hazard. And finally we see Momonosuke, who has Kaido's Delph ability, and the only mistake is that the color is not blue but pink. And Luffy just tells Momonosuke, just turn back into a human. It's funny, he says, I'm no Zoan. Obviously this is foreshadowing because he is a mythical Zoan, but that's 3 times in Punk Hazard we see big foreshadowing to a mythical Zoan dragon. And I think it's not to Kaido. I think, yes, this Momonosuke one is obviously to Kaido, but I think the other ones might be to another character, another dragon, father of Luffy. Now, you can also mention how Sabo's fighting style during Dressrosa was using the Dragon Claw fighting style. A human fighting like a dragon was always weird to me, so I don't think Dragon doesn't have a mythical zone dragon. I know people are fans of the Wind Theory and all that, but fact that Sabo is fighting like a actual mythical zone dragon with the claws and can almost like crack bites animal skulls. I think this fighting style is because he trained under Dragon when Dragon was transformed into its mythical zone hybrid form. And also, of course, during Egghead Island, we saw Vegapunk explain how Luffy's devil fruit is in the oldest of texts, the warrior of liberation, Sun God Nika. And it makes me think probably not a devil fruit user during the Void Century. Now, hear me, I'm thinking, how is it not a devil fruit user during the Void Century? I think that it became a devil fruit after the Void Century. And I think a lot of these devil fruits are actually these main or OG devil fruits that are mythical were actually not devil fruits, but actual creatures, beings during the Void Century. Hear me out. Vegapunk says every devil fruit is a possibility for human evolution, that human desire. Pretty much, devil fruits are humans' wondering curiosity of the possibilities on themselves. So definitely want to say the devil fruit is very mystical. And then of course it's said that it's still unnatural and its status is loathed by the sea, mother of nature, and those with the powers exist in a different dimension. So those with the devil power exist in a different dimension, dreamed up by someone else before them. And of course you have to understand that this is only Vegapunk's theory. It's not confirmation. It's not a fact. This is him theorizing. His logic is really good, so I'm not surprised if it does become a fact. And of course you have to understand, because the only Void Century would know what the origin of the devil fruit is. Vegapunk is kind of alluding to that in the origins, of course, of the devil fruit. But that's just my theory, of course. My theory has always been Void Century is the origins of the devil fruit ability. Now, of course, later on we see Vegapunk says the problem with geniuses is that they can see their own death, which of course confused Dragon, because Dragon was on the other line. He's like, what are you talking about? And then he said to Dragon, I'll be dead soon, which Dragon said, don't joke around. And then Vegapunk said, I just want you to know. Obviously, Oda wants us to not be surprised when Dragon pulls up in an epic fashion. Then, of course, we see Vegapunk says the Iron Giant is from the Void Century 900 years ago. And it, of course, says it was an advanced kingdom just like Egghead Island. So that's crazy. And honestly, it is intense. Now, I do want to say this versus, I feel like Dragon, of course, the Iron Giant, not Dragon, is going to help versus the Gorosei. We already have Dory and Bragi, the legendary giants, and then having the Iron Giant with Gear for Luffy in giant form would just be epic to see against the Gorosei guys. Of course, we see in a flashback during Egghead Island that, of course, and we see a lot of Dragon flashbacks when he's younger. It's been a while. That's what Vegapunk says is Dragon. And this is 22 years ago. So if Vegapunk is saying that 22 years ago, how long has Dragon and Vegapunk known each other? Crazy. And then of course we later on see that Vegapunk also finds out that Dragon knew Professor Clover as well. So they had their own relationship, but they also had relationships with Professor Clover of O'Hara that's connected to Nico Robin. So just so interesting. And then of course Monkey D. Dragon goes on to say that Vegapunk of course is a government lackey. And of course says he's happy the Giants got there before him. Of course Vegapunk's pissed off. He's like, I would never do anything. And then Dragon mentions Vegapunk, of course, pretty much passing or disrespecting or dissing him from joining the Freedom Fighters a while ago. And Vegapunk says, you are too poor, you have no money. And Dragon's like, yeah, you're very blunt still, huh? And then Vegapunk, of course, tells Dragon, don't lose sight of the goal, but Dragon can't sit by. It's kind of ironic because he's been sitting by the entire time in Egghead Island, so he's listening to Vegapunk when Vegapunk probably does not want him to listen to him. Dragon then tells Vegapunk, I am going to create an army that can fight the world government head on. And we, of course, learn through Vegapunk that he hates war. So Dragon doesn't like war. And also Dragon says, just watch, I'll change the world. And Vegapunk, of course, and the will of O'Hara won't die with Clover. So definitely is interesting how passionate Dragon is after O'Hara. Also, we do see around, I think, chapter 1083, Dragon did say if they immobilize the Holy Knights, that's when the fighting begins. But still leaves room for a solo mission because they didn't immobilize the Holy Knights. They immobilized the Gorosei, the 5 Elder Stars. That's even more crazier. And then, of course, interesting was Saul was telling the story about meeting Immu and the Gorosei and seeing their dove fruits and everything. Dragon only cared about the Lucia Kingdom and how they destroyed it and was like a great shadow was over it. And of course, this is interesting because Immu and Gorosei are nothing to him. Does that mean that Monkey Dragon is the most wanted man has already knew about Immu or maybe already knows about the Gorosei powers? That would be crazy because we know that his connection early on. We later see Dragon defend Vegapunk and says the world government don't have ancient weapons. They would have used it by now. And it seems like Ivanka doesn't have the same trust for Vegapunk that Dragon does, showing you how strong their connection is. So this message that Vegapunk is about to deliver, there's a lot of proof that it's going to impact Dragon a lot. And then, of course, one of the more important reveals in the One Piece Egghead Island arc is that Dragon reveals to be a former Marine when Kuma asks him how he knows about so much weapons. And just like his dad, Monkey D. Garp, we always knew that there was a connection to the former Marines. And the fact that I kind of was obsessed with him saying Dragon Son to Luffy, it's very, very interesting. And Ivanka even says it's strange how the Marines and Revolutionary want to help, but at our odds, like they're helping the same people, but they're at odds with each other. And tells Kuma, when Kuma says, I'll be with you forever, you won't regret it. So definitely, Kuma's life been shit, and honestly, I think Kuma, he's not gonna say he regrets it, but me as a fan, I'm thinking, damn, I regret your life, Kuma. But Dragon has to come to prove his word. Like, it's still not over. Kuma's still active, saving Bonnie. So if Dragon comes in Egghead Island and saves Bonnie, that would be hype. And you see, Dragon actually is inquiring about Kuma's safety. He's asking Ivanka where would Kuma go, and she says Mary Jo was, but this Kuma's a little different. So thought it'd be cool to see that Dragon is actually interested. And then, of course, we see Dragon watches on as the message, of course, is going on. Vegapunk is about to say the message in about 10 minutes. And Dragon actually thinks about when Vegapunk called him in the beginning of the arc and says, I will be dead soon. So this is all coming full circle. It's all becoming poetic, and I truly believe now is the time for Dragon to actually pull up. Like, I can already see how it's going to happen. Dragon is going to hear Vegapunk's message, then immediately head towards Egghead Island in a very speedy way. Now, Dragon has to have some shortcut that he can go. Like we see Doflamingo using strings for the clouds to get all the way to where he wanted to go. I think Dragon has something similar with his Delver ability. I truly believe Dragon can fly, I think he's a mythical zone that can fly. That's my theory. And then, of course, we're going to see an epic moment of Kuma, the Gorosei, Kizaru, Luffy, and Dragon all together fighting. And Dragon with his mythical zone against these Gorosei mythical zones from the actual Void Century. And, of course, Dragon speaks about the Void Century, too, that Vegapunk just revealed. And of course, kicking all the Gorosei's ass so Luffy can leave. We always thought Luffy was going to fight the Gorosei, but I think Luffy is for Imu. And if Dragon comes out of nowhere and actually 1v5s the Gorosei, his stocks would be up. That will remind me of the moment of when he saved Luffy from Smoker during a lockdown. That's just me as a fan, what I think Dragon's going to do. But we're going to find out soon, guys, because chapter 1111 is coming out. Yes, there's going to be a 3-week break after it, which is really sad, but we're going to find out this message soon, guys, and it's going to be intense when we actually see what went down with Vegapunk exposing info that could lead to Monkey D. Dragon actually pulling up on the island, guys. But get this video to 1,000 likes if you want to support the channel. I've been dropping so much content for you guys. Subscribe to the channel, of course. We're so close to 100k subscribers, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the double upload that I'm about to drop tomorrow. It's going to be insane collabs, guys. It's hype.